In this video, I'm going to demonstrate the usage of refresh local changes preference. This preference determines whether the CLI commands should automatically refresh the file system or not. The significance of automatically refreshing the file system is for the commands to identify any new local changes since the last run. By default, the value of refresh local changes preference is set to true. That is, by default, the CLI commands that read or modify the sandbox will automatically refresh the file system to identify any new local changes. First, let us take a look at the default behavior of the CLI commands. This is the current state of my sandbox. I have modified one of the files. Status command that reads the sandbox automatically detects this change and puts it under the unresolved changes. I have checked in the change and modified another file. Accept command that updates the sandbox automatically detects this change and displays a warning message. We saw that when refresh local changes preference is set to true, the CLI commands that read or modify the sandbox will automatically refresh the file system to identify any new local changes. The auto refresh mode is safe, but it is time consuming, especially if you have a large workspace with multiple components and huge number of files. Also, if you are using CLI in scripts, you almost don't want the commands to automatically refresh the file system. In this case, you would want to selectively refresh the file system. There are two ways to do this in CLI. You can either retain the value of refresh local changes preference as true and specify the -n option in the command line. Or you can set the value of the refresh local changes preference to false and run the refresh command when required. We'll first look at the usage of -n option. Here, I haven't made any modifications in my sandbox. I just want to look at the state of my sandbox. So I have run status command with the -n option. What happens when I make some change and run the status command with the -n option? The change goes undetected. Now I have run accept with the -n option. The change goes undetected until the system actually updates the file, and hence a warning message is not displayed. Instead, a copy of the overwritten file is placed in the Jazz.net directory. We saw that we can override the default behavior of automatic file system refresh performed in the CLI commands by specifying the -n option in the command line. -n option is available across all the commands that read or modify the sandbox files, and it is listed in the help for those commands. Now let us see what happens when we set the value of refresh local changes preference to false. I have made some modifications in my sandbox. Since refresh local changes preference is set to false, the CLI commands will not automatically refresh the file system, and hence the status command does not identify the local change. I have run the refresh command followed by status so that any new local change is detected by the system. You can see that the modified file is displayed under the unresolved changes. If you disable the automatic file system refresh performed in the CLI commands by setting the value of refresh local changes preference to false, you should run the refresh command as and when required for the system to detect any new local changes. In this video, we looked at the usage of refresh local changes preference. This preference determines whether the CLI commands should automatically refresh the file system or not. We also looked at the usage of -n command line option, which can be used to turn off the file system refresh on a particular run of a command. You can download the latest version of RTC SCM CLI client from Jazz.net. You can also post your queries in the forums at Jazz.net. Thanks for watching this video.